Hey everyone, it's Patrick, and I am coming to you with my second video. This new series and approach is a case study basis. You'll see, I'll create a persona of an individual that is not in the data space, but they want to get to the data space. It's obviously not linear. We have to figure out relationships and patterns on their current work effort and their skills and their experiences and how they can overlay that, leverage that, turn that into a serious plus, and then of course build upon that and have a legitimate shot of getting a job, 6, 12 months out, something to that effect. Everyone's different, obviously, and you can't predict the future, but that's the intent of this series, case study series. I'm going to create a fictitious individual. I'm going to put them in a current role, and then I'm going to put them into a role in which I believe in my research has found to be probably the best entry-level role for that individual. So as you see, we'll progress through this PowerPoint slide. I'll talk to the slides, and then hopefully you'll find this interesting and helpful, especially if you're in this role. But I'm going to start to create a series of these. Supply chain, truck drivers, really anything I can come up with. And my job is to try to build a mapping from that current role to a data role. Now, it may not be data analyst. It could be integrations. It could be a lot of different things. But the key is to get you into a data analyst role, regardless of title, and from there, you can decide your own fate and learn skills and move forward. But you have to get in. That's the hardest step, and that's what my attempt is to provide you here. So as we discussed in the previous thread, or the previous slide, this is the persona. This individual's named Sarah. She's 32, single mom with 2 kids, waitress with 3 years of experience. Current tools, she uses Toast POS, point of sale system. Some of you all don't know that. Some of you that are in the hospitality field, waiters and waitresses, probably do know that, or some variant of this. There are several of these point of sale systems out there. The mindset, as you can read, feels stuck in current role and recently started watching data analytic videos on YouTube. She's interested but doesn't know where to start. And that's what I'm going to walk through next. On the next slide, this is that persona. And hopefully, or I don't say hopefully, but maybe you relate to it, to this persona, and this will help you build a career path to obtaining an analyst job in the data space. As the slide indicates, why Sarah has a shot. You're thinking waitress, data analyst. I mean, at first brush, you look at it, and it's a pretty hard sell. But if you actually step back and think about the skills that can be leveraged, it actually closes the gap more than you would think. Deep understanding of restaurant operations. Now, I went out and scoured the jobs. There's not a ton of them, but there are some out there in the hospitality space. Understanding restaurant and hospitality operations is critical. And anybody that carries domain knowledge has a legitimate shot of scoring a job in data. It's just how it works. Some industries, it's more sought after, like healthcare, but it helps nonetheless. The experience using the point of sale system, they see the interface. If you're an experienced analyst, you understand that there's a data model backing it, database tables, maybe a NoSQL structure, some sort of data structure behind it with relationships, whether it's nested files, Avro files, or even just a database that you read, write, and update to. You understand that is behind that POS system. Well, looking at the interface, you can see orders, you can see all different menus and screens within that menu, actually, speaking of another table, and that will allow the individual to conceptualize the data on the front end. So if you are in this role as a waitress, this will help you understand the back end data model. So if you get into SQL eventually, Excel, pivot tables, charting, understanding XY axis data, how to aggregate it, I'm telling you, this will be very, very helpful to have this knowledge. Obviously, strong customer service and complex resolution skills. That to me is huge. That has to be sold. you are dealing with grumpy customers, whether it's your fault or not. Um, you can't just speak your mind. You have to really develop thick skin. That's huge, and I would sell that somehow, some way on your resume. High stress and fast pace. I mean, IT is not getting easier; it's getting harder. And whether it's data and you're on the business side working in a data role, or you're on the IT side, it's not getting easier, and it's getting fast. So this is will actually help you juggling multiple items at once. You're going to do that in the space. You're not going to just have a report and build it. You'll be interrupted multiple times. You'll have deliverables shift. You may even work in sprints, 2 week sprints with Jira boards. Um, and that's just a way of operating through an IT DevOps or CI/CD um, uh, development format. It's a little too much out of scope now for this, but you'll understand these concepts if you continue down this path and grow. But you will trust me, you will have to juggle some items, and so this will help. And then good communication skills. I mean, speaking skills, listening, and being a team member. That's all part of this. And so I think it's critical that these are the 5 core elements that I believe will help you come from this field into a data role. So we just covered the skills that you probably, if not all, possess all of those skills, at least some of those skills. These are the current roles that you have an opportunity of that I believe of applying for and getting. Um, Most of them, as you see, they have that operations title in them, and I think that's probably where you're best going to be served. And I think if you're coming from a restaurant background, whether it's a bartender, a back of the house, front of the house resource, I think these ops roles are going to be huge, and I think you'll possibly, I think quite possibly, this is where your domain knowledge will give you a leg up on other people that maybe have 1 or 2 years or maybe have formalized education in that background. As you can see, there's hospitality, restaurant, business, strategic, and a few other, and also like coordination. You can look for those roles, and they're probably a level lower than you'd like to be, but they can help you get into that. So look at coordinator, ops coordinator, data coordinator roles. Those are good titles to target. Look for hospitality websites. There's some out there. Any LLM, any AI LLM will be able to pull those up for you. Just ask, just prompt it, and it'll tell you. And I would go to those and take a look because you can kind of weed through all those large scale generic data roles like on Indeed or LinkedIn, and get to just core hospitality analyst type roles or restaurant analyst type roles. That, in my opinion, would be your best approach. But of course, hit Indeed, and you can also leverage AI. I mean, everybody knows about AI nowadays, so it's not even worth bringing up. But you can prompt it and just ask, find me hospitality, like these titles here, and figure out gaps and knowledges and stuff as you go. But you could do this. I mean, these are roles. I looked at several of these roles, and a lot of them do want 2 to 3 years of experience in that domain. So if you have that, it's a huge competitive advantage. So here's a small table that I built out, and I think again, you don't have to follow it exactly, but after looking through about 10 to 15 of these positions, um, I noticed there was a certain theme. There's revenue, there's operations. Those are core elements to these positions you're going to need, and you will have if you've been in the industry, at least to a certain degree. Excel was your first tool. These are quasi financial analyst roles. So a lot of the reports are going to be downloaded into Excel, built in formats that it may be extracted to PowerPoint presentations for people. You may just need to answer questions using pivot tables. You may get multiple data sources. You may get a file from HR, and you need to munge it with sales data. Um, all sorts of disparate data systems that you're going to have to deal with. So Excel is one of these tools that can kind of get down and dirty and get it, especially at the financial level. But I would think that spending your time in Excel and learning those particular skills that roll up under Excel, like pivot tables, XLOOKUP, conditional formatting, basic formulas like trim, and even uh, some of those math formulas that you'll need to build those key performance indicators. Months 6 through 12, understanding KPI restaurant metrics. You can work that in tandem probably. In fact, if you found hospitality data sets or restaurant data sets, you can work the two together. So you can kind of crash, if you will, using a project management term. You could crash these skill sets and bring them both together and expedite your knowledge. And actually, what's kind of funny now that I look at it and I'm talking through it, you could probably actually do the dashboard on top of it, because you can model the data correctly, look through it. The data in which you use is the analytics software. You can create the KPIs in Excel, then rebuild them into Power BI or another visualization tool, and then from there you can display it and kind of talk to it. I do mention APIs. In my first video, I mentioned this. The world's data is picking up through APIs. So again, if you're new, I wouldn't jump into it immediately, but I definitely would start to take a look at it. There's tools like Postman and Insomnia, and you can start sourcing these data structures from their open public, or sometimes you need to get a key. So it gets a little bit tricky, or a secret or a token. But I would recommend definitely keeping that in your mind at some point, evolving to that, because all these, I don't say all of them, but a lot of these analytic roles are going to require API integrations through, like, you start to get into tools like Salesforce. Even some of these hospitality industry tools are going to be API driven. So definitely worth your time to invest time and study those. I just want to summarize that we went through several different components to this: the actual intent of the presentation, the persona of the individual, the transferable skills that the individual had acquired while working in this situation that I assume some of you will have currently, and then actually the skills in which you'll need to get there, and that's Excel, understanding of the KPIs and the industry from an analytics perspective, from what operations is going to want to see. You'll also want to take a look at visualization tools down the road, but I would really get into Excel first and understand the data, understand XY axis, looking at the measures or the roll-ups in there, the aggregations, the sums, the counts, and then even creating custom formulas in Excel. You can do that as well and bring those into your pivot tables, and then you can chart off that. And then, of course, before you even get there, you'll have to munge the data set, bring the data sets together, and create relationships between them. Understand what in the IT world or the data world we call data grain. Especially in business intelligence, and so you'll need to make sure that the data is lined up correctly. If this is daily data and weekly data, well, you're going to have to roll up the weekly data because the weekly data. I'm sorry, you're going to have to roll up the daily data to get to the weekly level in order for it to make sense, and that's where aggregation comes in and stuff. And you can do all that in Excel, and it's great practice to learn. So I wish you the best of luck. I'm going to create more and more of these. I'm going to use the same format. I realize it's probably not the best production quality, but I'm trying to get content out there. I'm really trying to help you all get out from under your current roles if you're interested in doing so and getting into these data roles. Thank you.